What's going on, guys? So what I'm doing now is I want to be able to take this pan. Eventually I want to take it out, the transmission out. So this brass fitting, it seems fine when you screw it to the manual sending unit on the gauge, but it's gonna be aggravating when it's stuck inside the pan. And also this could be like a drain as well. You can't weld this, obviously. If you know anything about welding, you can't weld the brass with what I got anyways. You're not gonna be able to do it. So either I leave this in here, get like a small bolt or something, weld on each corner, kind of like to jam it on each side, or that's my last resort to do that. Or what I'll do is, this almost fits. It's the right inner diameter, so I may just tap it. All right, so you can kind of see what I did here. Luckily I had plenty of these brass fittings. So this will be now on the inside of the pan, like so. I'm just gonna tack it on each corner, maybe 4 corners. I'll do one, come back. Don't want to really heat that transmission pan up, which really don't freaking matter. And then it's gonna sit like this. It's gonna screw in there. I'll put some never come off Loctite on it, like so. So this will be on the outside of the pan, underneath the car. This will then screw in. So the temp probe will be able to get a temp reading on the transmission. Yeah. So sometimes, guys, with these kind of cars, you kind of got to think outside the box and just make do with what you got. And I had an old, looked like a ball joint nut that I had in my little throwaway cabinet. Bam. There we go. So I'm going to try to tap this, or thread it rather, sorry. I hope this really works, because I'd much rather just tack in place one of these or this instead of doing the other route. I know some would say to just drop your pan and all that good stuff whenever. Don't want to do that. And I got the stuff here to kind of do it, so I might as well try it. That's one thing I just want to try to make this happen. There it goes, it started. What kind of car do you think I should build next? Kind of had a really wanting a Maverick, and most of y'all probably motorheads anyway will like that. I like a Ford 300 straight 6, and I would take, for what I do, I think I'd rather have a 300 straight 6 over a 302. I know what some will say, but I had a Ford Fairmont a long time ago that we drained the oil out of it because we were dumb. 300 straight 6 that was. And I had a Ford Fairmont a long time ago that we drained the oil out of it because we were dumb. 300 straight 6 that was. And we ran that thing without no oil, just trying to blow it up. Never blew it up. Put it in something else. Ran like a kitten. Oh, here's the a fitting that I cut off. I think I'm gonna have to go bigger. Alright, guys, so I got it here on the little vise. Put a little washer on the brass fitting. I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna get it pretty much center. Put the nut on. I'm gonna tighten it up before I tack it. I want to get this. That would kind of suck to get it in place and then it not work out. Or think I get it in place by eyeballing it. Lord knows I've done that. I don't want to put too much strain on that brass, because that'll eat that up. Yeah, kind of like I was saying. Bam, there's the trans probe. That's gonna be awesome. I like that. So I'm gonna tack this in place and you'll see it. All right, well, one thing I said whenever I started this YouTube thing is that I'm gonna be completely honest. Well, I screwed this one up. Yeah, I guess the pictures I was looking at online, I had them backwards. So where this is right on top of the filter. So I screwed that up bad. I should have took it down, marked it. So I'm currently cleaning the one that came out of it. So I better not mess this one up because I don't have another one, because obviously that came from the parts car. So I will measure 3 times, cut, drill once, measure 100 times, drill once, or whatever that's supposed to be. But yeah, so I screwed it up pretty bad. I had a bunch of fittings stacked on top of each other, but I know that's going to get knocked off, and so that's what I didn't want to do. So I'm going to redo it. But guys, when you're doing stuff like this, you're going to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to get in here and do stuff. You're going to mess it up. Heck, I do it all the time. And it's pretty obvious right here. So I better not mess this next one up, because if not, I'll be going to the junkyard trying to find the transmission pan. But yeah, so I'll let you know when I get done with that. Alright guys, I got it tacked in there. So I should just screw this out. Ooh, that's hot. Don't do that. Let's just throw it on the floor. Alright, and so I know some of y'all are probably going to say, and I kind of tend to overdo everything. It's hot. Yes, this right here will stay in there all the time when that sensor screws into this. What happens if this, if I'm not paying attention one day, or I'm on the trail and I break this off, like I'm going to get a cap for this, put it in the car. If I do knock this off, which I always have a skid plate over it anyway, but I always do that. Like my oil pressure line, I got a cap for it if I was to break it off. Coolant, which I don't really have to worry about that, but I got a plug for it too. I'm gonna do the same for this, or I'll have a plug inside the car. But I think that's gonna be awesome. So brass fitting, a $25 gauge. Some of you may not care what the transmission runs, but some baby like me and like to know a little everything. Transmission runs, but some baby like me and like to know a little everything. I think that turned out pretty dang good. Alright, so next, you'll see me putting this in the car. But y'all know how to take a transmission pan down from another car, or I'm gonna do it from this car. So I probably won't video that because it's pretty boring and just nasty. So next, I'll put this in. Just got the old Buick's pan out. It don't look awful. Don't look good. But it's not got like chunks of metal in it. It's got your typical shavings, but not shavings, just grit. But I mean, it's not awful. I mean, I was expecting it to be pretty bad, honestly. Been kind of procrastinating doing this little project. I was like, man, I pulled that transmission pan out. There's going to be gears and who knows what else. This car sat for like 5 years in a field. Yeah, if any of y'all watched the first video of what it looked like when I first got it, you'll see it was nasty. But I'm gonna get back to it. All right, guys. Well, about 3 hours later, and pissed off. Anyway, so I got it. The pan. Anyway, I'm gonna show you. See, I did this, cleaned all that up, so you know, no metal. Our metal weld splatter will be in the bottom of the pan. And then, of course, the little brass fitting semi-strips. Y'all know what I'm talking about. When you get it and you feel it get tight, and you think you can get one more ooga dooga into it, and then all of a sudden it gets a little bit loose. So then you come back around and you tighten it up. I'm not going to suggest you do what I did, but I knew I couldn't weld on brass. So I did the next best thing and just, you know, just put that perfect. Just, nobody's going to see it. It's going to be under the car. Nobody's going to see it. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do, in case that does epically fail, which it probably will, I am currently fixing the old pan. And this was the hole that I should have drilled. I used this to be like my markup pan, which I should have done in the first place, but you know, whatever. So I got a piece of brass here. I'm going to put under these holes, I'm going to weld this up, and I will just leave this pan in the car and some RTV sealant, seal gasket maker. So yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last 2 hours or so. Just trying to get this, all this for a gauge, because I'm weird and have to have a gauge because I get, yeah, it's already like 2:30 in the morning. But yeah, I'm gonna keep hammering this out. I was gonna put the oil or transmission cooler on it. I don't know if I'll get that done tonight, but I want to get this done. But I'm gonna let that JB weld dry. It may take a good while. I may have to just let it sit there overnight. I don't know. I don't really want to throw it up there and it be hanging, and then I come out here because I got to work a bunch of days in a row again. Anyway, I don't want to come out here and it's just like a glob hanging down. But I'll get you another update in a little while. Alright guys, so here's kind of the end result with the pan. Now if you're thinking it looks just janky because of this JB weld here, I understand you're thinking that. I understand it don't look professional, but hear me out. I did that solely because of this brass fitting here inside there, which is brass, which is brittle. JB weld dry. It may take a good while. I may have to just let it sit there overnight. I don't know. I don't really want to throw it up there and it be hanging, and then I come out here because I got to work a bunch of days in a row again. Anyway, I don't want to come out here and it's just like a glob hanging down. But I'll get you another update in a little while. Alright guys, so here's kind of the end result with the pan. Now if you're thinking it looks just janky because of this JB weld here, I understand you're thinking that. I understand it don't look professional, but hear me out. I did that solely because of this brass fitting here inside there, which is brass, which is brittle to an extent, on the nut head that I put inside the pan that I welded in this part of the pan. It got to where it was tight, then I tried to put a little more, then it kind of got loose, so I stopped. I didn't want this backing out, so I mainly did this as precautionary. And I want to be able to get this in and out, because like this could also be used as a drain plug. I eventually want to take this transmission out, put a locker in it. So I wanted this sensor to come out easily. And my skid plate, it goes right underneath there. So that should be fine. I shouldn't knock it off. Shouldn't, theoretically speaking. I'll look at the clearance whenever I put the skid plate back on here. But I normally just self-tap and screw it, there. I may put some washers underneath it when I put the skid plate back on, just to make sure that doesn't bend easy. So I do need to have it down maybe 1/4 of an inch, just so, or maybe 1/2 an inch, just so this is not getting impacted. But yeah, so there's our transmission temp. Now let's get transmission fluid in this thing and see how hot she does run. Well, because I ain't got the light hooked up yet. As you can see, it's barely off the needle, so it's not running too hot right now. Professional tip of the day. I did not realize that a 3800 transmission, or whatever it is, yeah, I've done put like 6 quarts in this thing and it's barely on the stick. So, yeah. So it works. We're gonna see. You can barely see it's off the needle. Just a smidge. I probably should have got a gauge that started at 100, not 130, but whatever. But we'll see what it's like when it's actually getting trail road. My tow rig, OF250 out there, before I put a gauge on it, I went like 10 miles from my house and the transmission was pegged out on 280. Yeah, I'd have burnt that thing slap up. I had to put a pretty big trans cooler on it. But we're gonna put an AC condenser on this thing for a transmission cooler if it runs hot. If the radiator, cooler, transmission thing does what it's supposed to do, then I'm just gonna leave it just like it is. But yeah. So obviously temp gauge, oil pressure, and a trans temp. If you're wondering why I got 3 different gauges, bought these cheap pieces of junk off Amazon, and the water or the oil pressure broke. Don't care about the alternator. Went and bought a set of these with oil pressure and a temp, and the temp broke. So yeah, so I got all 3 different gauges. But there she is. Like, subscribe, follow, leave a comment. I'd greatly appreciate it. See y'all the next time.